عقائدهم مما أبدوه أو أخفوه، فإنهم يتفاوتون فيه إلى مناقش إلى مناقش في الحساب، وإلى مسامح فيه، وإلى من يدخل الجنة بغير حساب.
اللهم اجعلنا من الذين يدخلون الجنة بغير حساب. حسبك. الحديث عن اليوم الآخر. الإيمان باليوم الآخر ركن من أركان الإيمان، من تؤمن بالله وملائكته
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم.
واليوم الآخر
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم.
والخير الذي الله تعالى
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. He's speaking now about a pillar from the pillar of faith. Based on your faith or belief or certainty of the unseen, your action will be your outward action will be the more your faith in the unseen will strengthen or strong, the more your actions will be correct and done with excellence. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the first chapter of the Quran after Fatiha, in the beginning of Surah Al-Baqarah, he says, in the name of Allah, most gracious, most merciful, Alif Lam Mim. This is the book in which there is no doubt, guidance for the muttaqeen. And who are them? Those who believe in the unseen. And then he says that they established a prayer and gave from what we've given. So he put belief in the unseen as the primary attribute. And what is unseen? It is what you don't see. You heard of it through the revealed books, revelations, or what has come to you through the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, and upon peace and blessings be upon him and his family and companions, where such that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent to you his messenger, his prophet, and he said about him that he is true and trustworthy, and that he doesn't speak from his own accord. So the final day, the last day, all of the hereafter is unseen, and that is from the secrets of the unseen and the secrets of existence, because death and what is after that, we believe in it and we haven't seen it though, and it has a great secret. You don't know how it is and where it is and how it is created. It is something that exists and we believe in it, and we will mention some of the details here, because the last day and death, it is like as if they've said, it is the battle. It is what the doubters and the atheists fall or slip. So all the atheists, they slip or they fault. They don't pass this this obstacle, which is death and what comes after that, because they don't believe in anything except what they see. And we'll mention this in the book. And then he says that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala separates the body from the spirit through when the person dies. Death, it's basically your spirit leaving your body. And we mentioned previously that this death is not oblivion, it's not the end for you. It is just you transferring or moving from one life to another life. And we gave an example of a person who who rented a house or bought a property, and he put some furniture inside and lived in it, him with his family, for a specific time, for a period of time, and then he decided to move to another house. So what does he do? He takes his furniture, his belongings, all of them. So what happens is that his house becomes empty. It's like it has no furniture and no inhabitants, and this is the decree of Allah for all houses. Any house in this world, all houses, in this world, if they are not inhabited by humans, then there is to be turned into, it becomes something that is spoiled, whether it's a house or a city or a village or city, or even the whole world. So this is why when the earth, when all the people will die before the day of judgment, the whole world will become kharab, will become spoiled. So for this reason, death basically means you moving from one stage to another stage, like a person moving from one house which is two bedroom and a hall to a four bedroom and a hall, or a villa. And the nature of human is that he moves from something small to something big, from restriction to expansion. You don't usually see people moving from a big house to a smaller house unless there's an exception circumstances. And it also said that death for the people of hereafter, for the people of akhirah, is something that gathers them. So for the believers, uh, uh, death is something that unites them, and for disbelievers, death is something that separates them. It Death unites the believers. Uh, it Like how Sayyidina Bilal said, tomorrow I'll meet Muhammad, we will meet Muhammad and his companions. So for this reason, the Gnostics, they love death, and they refer to it as liqa Allah or liqa al-habba, meeting of Allah, meeting with Allah, meeting with the loved ones. And the greatest of those you love is the Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him. So we ask Allah that He makes us from them, and then it will be returned to the body on the day of judgment. Why is the last day called the last day? The ulama say, it is said that it is the last day of this world. One of the opinion. The other opinion is that there's no nightfall after that, because day means for us 24 hours, and in that day you have two portions, the day and the night. There's a daytime and there's a nighttime, but people refer to all of it as a day. But in Sharia, we have something called nahar, which is the daytime, and the night time is called layl. So the day is both the morning, the daytime, and the nighttime. So the last day is called last day because it is a daytime without any night. Even in paradise, uh, will there be will there be sun and the moon in paradise? No, they won't see any of that. So the people of paradise will be in the light of Allah Azza wa Jal. And as for the people of hellfire, will be in the darknesses of their kufr. And nur is not because of the sun or the moon, it's because of a divine light. And similarly, hell does not mean there is no sun, it means there are darknesses. This is why the light of a believer is stronger than the hellfire, because the Prophet, peace be upon him, said that it is possible for the light of a believer to put out the hellfire, because it's the light from Allah Azza wa Jal. This is why when the believer traverses the bridge on the day of judgment, the hellfire will say, move quickly because you are putting out my flames, because and that nur that believer has is light from Allah Azza wa Jal. Also on the day of judgment, there's no end to it. When does the day of judgment start? Does it start with your death? No. It starts from you coming out of your graves. The last day, it is also called the day of resurrection, because people will be resurrected on that day. On that day, people will come out from their graves. So the day will start from you being resurrected from your graves. And what is the last day? The last day is the last day of this world. And what is referred to as the Armageddon, the end of the world. They call it the Armageddon, and they make movies out of it. They do believe that the day will end, the world will end, that the day will come and everyone will die. And 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 so the one thing that every single person agrees upon, believers and disbeliever, they all agree on one thing: they believe in death. There's no one who can deny death. And this is what you can hold the neck of the atheist with, metaphorically speaking, because they they say we don't believe in anything except we see, if we've seen it. And so you ask them, do you believe in death? They say, yes, we believe in death, but have you seen death? So they say, yes, we have seen death. No, what you see is the effects of death. You haven't seen death. You have seen a dead person, but not death itself. You have not seen even angel of death, and you haven't seen how he takes out the spirit, and you haven't seen how a person dies. You haven't seen the angel of death, and you haven't seen death, but you believe in it because of the effect of death. Imam al-Ghazali, may Allah have mercy on him, says, the people will be taken out from their graves, and what is in their hearts will be exposed, revealed. We ask Allah Azza wa Jal ease and well-being and safety, because people nowadays have started to these groups have started to put doubts and suspicion and basically doubt in people's religion. And this is something the Prophet, peace be upon him, warned us of. He said that there will be many dajjals, many impostors, and these impostors will precede the big Dajjal, the one-eyed one. And this is also referred to as the fitna, the trials of Dajjal. And remember, the fitna of Dajjal, the tribulations of Dajjal, are not related to the time where he comes out. His tribulations precede his coming into the world, coming out. So when Dajjal claims lordship, whatever is coming before is preparation for him to declare lordship when he comes out. So returning to our conversation here, as we've mentioned, death, all humans agree that death is written for every living thing. In fact, it is written for every single thing that exists. Death is written. There's a difference between saying death written for every living thing and death living for every single thing. When we say living, we mean that it has spirit in it, like a human, like the animals, like the insects, like the jinn. These are living. This is from the living world, but or living things. But death is written for every single thing, even this thing that Habib raised. Every single thing, everything, every inanimate thing is also has death written. They will die. And what is its death? To be become void, to be finished, to be non-existent. So when the heavens or the skies die, they will burst open, and the death of the planets will be when they're put out. And the death of the sky is that it splits open, and the death of the mountains is that they become flattened. This is how they die. So death is written upon every single thing until nothing will exist except Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And we also mentioned that in this day and age, now we, God forbid, people are putting doubts in grave and punishment of grave. And there's one, the problem here is that everyone wants to intellectualize or fit it into their intellect, because the problem is you don't know where your spirit is. There are things that cannot be measured by your intellect, but the intellect can help you understand, but you cannot measure it completely. Allah Azza wa Jal made us live in this day and age, in an age where there are a lot of things that our grandparents did not see, and to the point if they were alive today, they would say it's like magic or something that is impossible, meaning they could never believe in their day and age live broadcast like how it's happening right now. You can see Habib and hear him. The early Muslims wouldn't believe in this. If we were to go to Fir'aun, I mean, he doesn't have a grave. Let's say any non-Muslim who has a grave, and we ask him that we have mobile phones and internet, he will think it's magic. They wouldn't believe in it. So this is one of the ways in this day and age people will increase others in doubts. So through the use of um, through through modern technology, you can understand that the things that were thought of as magic before have a cause and effect. So you sitting in your house can see everything. Like for instance, you can put a camera and stuff, and in your workplace or in your house, and from your phone you can see you can see what's happening from and that other place from your phone. It's a sign from Allah Azza wa Jal to tell you that just as you have figured out a way to see what's happening in elsewhere, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows everything. So Allah has written for every single thing that it will die, and there's no living thing, anything that is living from human beings, and every living thing has a grave in this world. Even if he dies, uh, even if he dies, and his body is in cut into in many pieces, God forbid, like let's say a rocket struck the person, or he got hit in a car accident, or he got eaten by animals. So, anyone who so a person who has been who died into many pieces, and his body is into many pieces, he still has a grave. In the Quran, the graves are mentioned, and he's also mentioned in the Quran the ajdath, and this word and the word ajdath is mentioned 3 times, that they'll come out from ajdath quickly. They may people may in the Quran you can't say it means the same thing. Every word is used in the right place. It has a general meaning that could be a synonym for something else, but it has a specific meaning related to the word. Like for instance, when you say a person is farhan, he's happy. And when you say another person is mubtahij, which also means happy. But which one is more happy? The one who is mubtahij in Arabic language. Why? Because a person is farhan by one information, by one thing, and there are other things that are upsetting him. So happiness, or that happiness in one thing does not stop the other things that are causing sadness. But mubtahij means that the it means that he's really extremely happy. So ajdath, the word ajdath that is mentioned in the Quran, the ulama have deferred on it. Some people have referred to as a type of grave, and some have said that ajdath refers to all of the pieces of the person on earth, just as how the plants have seeds uh, uh, here and there, and when rain comes down they all start sprouting. So whenever rain falls, the seeds are already there and they start sprouting. Similarly, when a person dies and his body is disintegrated into many, like millions of pieces, so these pieces will separate and will be and so even if he is in the stomach of a whale, or a stomach of a lion, or a cat, or crocodile, it would still, because that thing that is in that animal will die too. So when a person dies normally and his body is put in a grave, he'll come out of that grave. But if a person who dies without an apparent grave, he will come out from these ajdath, meaning all those pieces of his body will all come together and he'll be formed. He'll be formed as one creation. Like for instance, a person dies in the middle of the desert, and so one animal, like a dog, comes and eats a portion of his, and then a falcon comes and eats a portion, and then a lizard comes and eats another portion of his body. So we have lizard and a dog and wolf and the falcon. Every single one takes a portion of his body. So it seems apparently that a portion of his body is his body parts are in different places. So the person is obviously dead. On the day of judgment, when people will be resurrected, now whoever is in they will come out. Whoever had his body split into or separated into different locations, all that will come together and he'll be formed again. So obviously nobody wishes to die in this way, and it is something that is referred to as a bad ending. And this maitat su, which is like a or disliked or horrid ending, does not is not the same as su al khatma, which is a dying in a bad state, in the meaning spiritual state. Because people can say a person maitat su, it refers to, let's say, a person, God forbid, dies in a car accident. It's called maitat su, or a horrid ending, because it something, if you look at it, disturbs you and it upsets you. We ask Allah Azza wa Jal, say Ameen, Habib made dua, Ameen, that may Allah protect us from maitat su, which is a horrid ending, or horribly appearing ending, and a bad ending, as in dying outside of Islam. The thing that protects you from dying in that horrible state, or outwardly horrible state, is to give charity and to do actions that help people. They say, when is your wealth blessed? When is your wealth blessed? And when are you given more? When more people benefit from your wealth. The more the people benefit from your wealth, the more blessed it is. Like for instance, a person, his wage is, he has 20, 30,000 or 40, 50,000 salary. But the ones who benefit from it are his family, his wife and children, his parents, and some poor people that he knows. So this is a limited number of people. Another person, his salary is 3,000 or 4,000 dirhams. The ones who benefit from his wealth are his parents, his family. He receives guests. He he gives iftar. He helps in putting out people's debts, even if it's a small portion. He puts invests in paying the rent of people, even if it's a small amount. So he has invested. He has put his money here and there. He's not able to, let's say, pay off a person's complete debt or pay a person's complete rent, but he can pay a small portion. So so he's putting small portions in many places. So this is where barakah comes, because Allah, so he has put the risk of other people, of many people, in your risk, or in this person's risk. So how can he address this person? How would Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala address this person as saying that you are somebody who has alleviated a tribulation of another person without blessing your wealth? So does it make sense that Allah Allah orders a person to spend in his cause, and at the same time not give him more? And why people don't find barakah? They might be 20, 30 years in the same job, the same salary, same wage, because he holds on to his wealth and he doesn't spend in Allah's way. So so the thing the thing that stops or prevents a horrible ending, or death that looks horrible, is to help people in whatever way, through wealth, through to making people happy, etc. All of these things alleviate from you this death that looks horrible. So coming back to the topic, the grave and what happens in the grave, like the punishment of the grave, etc. All these things are realities. Don't listen to the doubters, the skeptics. And why it is true is the Quran has affirmed this. The Quran has confirmed this. That the fire is presented to Pharaoh and his family every day, and then on the day of judgment they'll be given a greater fire. And also it is affirmed in the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, and he taught us to seek refuge in Allah from the punishment of hellfire, of the punishment of the grave, which means the punishment of the grave exists. He taught us to seek refuge in Allah from the punishment of the grave and punishment of the hellfire, and the fitna of Masih ad-Dajjal, and the fitna that will come before him. And that means these exist. And also he told us about people who were being punished in their grave. He also taught us just that there is punishment, there's also pleasure of the grave. There's we ask Allah Azza wa Jal that He makes our graves a garden from the gardens of paradise. I mean, so you believe in whatever happens in the grave, and that the na'im, or the pleasure of the pleasure that one receives in paradise, in his grave, and his punishment that he receives in the grave depends on how he responds to the angels in the grave. Your punishment or your pleasure or reward in the grave, it depends upon the angels, the response you give to the angels who questioned you when you were put in your grave. So if you're not asked that question, so if a person answers those questions properly, that means he is saved from all punishments in this grave till the day of judgment. And you know what those questions are. What Habib wants to tell us, from the mercy of Allah Azza wa Jal, that there's no believer, or every believer who's put in his grave, whether he is asked or not asked, he will be given the divine assistance to respond to those questions properly. So if a mu'min, a believer, is put in his grave, and there are two types. There is a believer who is God conscious, who's fearful of Allah, who's obedient, and there's a believer who is a mix of both good deeds and bad deeds. He has mixed good deeds with other bad deeds. And then there is the disbeliever, and then there is a hypocrite. So there are four types. So believer, which is of two types, and then there's hypocrite and disbeliever. Hypocrisy is a type of disbelief, by the way. Let's talk about the believer who is obedient, and the believer who is not disobedient. Both of these believers will be questioned, and both of them will be given a divine assistance to respond. The only difference would be that the obedient believer would be able to respond immediately, but the believer who's disobedient will experience fear and awe because these questions, they're by the angels, and their forms and the way they're asked, they have this they have a weight. And despite, and obviously before that comes the weight of death itself, the experience of spirit leaving the body and then being put in his grave. So these are not easy experiences. We ask Allah Azza wa Jal that He makes us all firm. So the understanding and the belief of the Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah is that the believer is made to is made firm by Allah Azza wa Jal, but even if he is disobedient, but the only thing is that the disobedient believer will experience difficulty in responding. Like for instance, a person teaches his children or his child Fatiha, his young child, Surah Al-Fatiha, and he just memorized Surah Fatiha, and then he goes to school, and then his teacher comes to him and says to him, you come here, come in front of the class and read Fatiha. So he comes in front of everyone, and even though he did memorize Surah Fatiha and it's fresh in his mind, but because he was put on the spotlight in front of the whole class, he finds it difficult to remember, and he forgets a bit. But inshallah he'll be made firm. And it's from the mercy of Allah Azza wa Jal that Allah Azza wa Jal, and this has been confirmed to us from the Sunnah, is that the Sahabas confirmed it, that from the way the believer is made, the way believers are made steadfast when they're asked these questions is when the people who bury the person do the talqeen, where they dictate to the deceased person the answers to the angels. And unfortunately, there are people who reject this beautiful tradition by saying this doesn't come in the hadith. The thing is, if we hypothetically agree with you that let's say he doesn't benefit from you dictating to him, the deceased does not benefit, does he get harm from it? No. So this talqeen, which is like orally reading or transmitting the answers or dictating the answers to the deceased, and these are the questions that he's asked as soon as he's put in his grave. He's asked these questions 3 times. He's asked, "Oh, so and so," and he opens his eyes and he's called again, and he's called again 3 times, and he gets up. But again, where he gets up is not that grave that small place where his body is. Um, he's called by his name thrice, and he opens his eyes. It's like a person who wakes up. They open the eye and they think they think they think who called me, and then you're called. He's called a 3rd time to confirm that he is the one who who has been referred to, and then he's called another time, which is the 3rd time. He gets up and he sits, and then he's called again, and he said, "Say, O slave of Allah, say the covenant by which you, because of which, or for the mention the covenant for which you were sent to this world." Sorry, what Habib was referring to is the people who are alive, who after they bury the person, they call out the person, and they call him 3 times. The first time they call him, the deceased person begins to hear, he opens his eyes, and then they call him again, and then he gets up, and then they call him again, and then they tell him what to say. They tell him to remember the covenant, which is, remember that your Lord is Allah. Remember who your Lord is. He's Allah, and that your religion is Islam, and the messenger is the Prophet ﷺ, and your Qibla is the Kaaba. And it is coming on another narration that even the angels who are there hear the person being given these instructions by the living people, and then the angels say to themselves, "Let's go to another person because he's already been given the answers." Uh, if a person nowadays who has a social media account with 1 million followers all over the world, but none of them, none of those followers are with you in there, none of those millions live with you in your country or live with you. Who will give you? Who would do this talqeen or this oral transmission to you when you're put in your grave? Only the people who are with you personally. The million followers will just send you an email. Will they come and transmit the covenant to you when you're put in your grave? This is why some of the early Muslims, they would write in their will that they be given that oral dictation, and they even specify the person in the will, that if he dies interim, then let Habib Umar do talqeen of me, and if he dies in a certain place, let so and so do talqeen of me. And then he writes in the end, as long as it's as long as it's in their ability, meaning it's easy. for them. It's not that you burden the people who are alive to make sure like the person comes, whether he's traveling, people have to get him a ticket. It's better for you to live light and die light, and not be a burden on the people around you. Then there is a question. We said that there's every single person who's put in his grave, who dies, will be questioned. But the question is, are there people who won't be questioned? Yes, there are. There are types of people who will not be questioned, and we said that those who are not questioned, they will not be punished until the day of judgment. We ask Allah that He makes us from them. There is a type, and you cannot be from them because they are the prophets. The prophets, they're not questioned. They're prophets. How can they be questioned? The second are the Siddiqun, the awliya, the Gnostics, the knowers of Allah. They're not questioned. We ask Allah that He makes us from them or from those who love them. The third type are the martyrs, the shuhada. The martyrs are also not asked, honoring the fact that they sacrifice themselves for the sake of Allah. The fourth type are the people of Quran, who acted upon it and who never neglected it. And we said people of Quran, not the companions of Quran, not the Ashab al-Quran. The Ahl al-Quran are those who recite it properly, who reflect on it, who ponder the meanings, who know the meanings of it, who know the secrets of it. They witness even though it's a great maqam, we ask Allah that He grants us that maqam. The fifth type are those who recites Surah Al-Ikhlas in his deathbed, basically, or in the disease that takes his life. He reads it, I think, 100 times. If he recites Surah Al-Ikhlas 100 times in the time of his death, then that's something that's special about Surah Al-Ikhlas. Habib gave us an example, gave us a way to do this. All of us get sick. The way you remember to recite the Surah Al-Ikhlas 100 times is you don't differentiate between a light illness and heavy illness. If you're sick, you're sick. Whether you have flu, you have a sickness. If you have a difficulty breathing, that's a sickness. Anything that you experience from that is like an illness, even though it may look light, in the end it is an illness. Let alone the heavy illnesses, the diseases like cancer, etc. We ask Allah for safety and protection from those. So if you experience illness of any degree, read Surah Al-Ikhlas. Will you lose anything? No. Because from the evilness of Iblis is that he comes to you and tells you, oh, it's just a flu, it's just a cold, leave it. And how many people who you know who had cancer and they lived through it for years, while a person died from a cough or small illness. Also, the person who dies on the night or the eve of Friday or the Friday daytime, he is also not questioned. He dies from the time after Maghrib on Thursday until the Maghrib of Friday. In summary, from the Maghrib of Thursday till the sunset of Friday. Whoever dies in this time frame, he is protected from the questions and also from the punishment of the grave. May I ask Allah that He makes us from them with ease and well-being. And this is also obviously your death, your time when you die, where you die, you don't know where and when it has, and no soul knows where it'll die, in what place it'll die. So, but the things that give you glad tidings is that if a person is inspired, if you are inspired to beseech or make dua, that means Allah wants you to have that state when you pass away. Like if you are consistently reminded within yourself to make dua, oh Allah, give me a good ending in this place, in this state. If especially if you are inspired with those prayers in blessed places, because the person says, a person says to himself that I will go for Hajj and I'll go for Arafah and I'll make all of these du'as. And then he goes there and he forgets those du'as, and Allah gives him actually bigger du'as and greater du'as and more complete and perfected du'as. This is the benefit of exposing yourself to the divine breezes, whether these are the breezes that come at special times or in special places, because the places have blessings. Because as Allah says in the Quran about Quds, the place that we blessed around it. There are places that are blessed, and there are places that are not blessed. That are normal. Are the normal places same as the blessed places? No. Are the two holy sanctuaries and the Masjid al-Aqsa, are they same as other places? Of course not. As Allah says, what we have blessed all around it. Is Ramadan like the rest of the months? No. Is Friday like other days? No. Is the Mawlid of the Prophet same as other days? No. And also we spoke about grave and its punishment and all of the things related to that in previous lessons. We ask Allah Azza wa Jal that He makes our graves a garden from the gardens of paradise and the highest stations of paradise. And the greatest means for your grave to be a garden from the gardens of paradise, from Firdaus, is to attend gatherings of knowledge, because the Prophet ﷺ referred to these gatherings as gardens of paradise. So the more you attend these gatherings of knowledge, the more beautified your grave is. And also, we know a gathering with your sheikh is not the same as a gathering with your friends. Your gatherings are based on who you're sitting with, even if that person is dead. Because some of the ulama of Iraq, they said to their sheikh that they will read burda in the grave of in front of the in front of the grave of Ma'ruf al-Qirkhi, which is a wali. So 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 you reciting in front of people, then based on their stations it's accepted. So people will be resurrected on the day of judgment, and whatever is in their hearts will be revealed. Then there will be the judgment, and there's a lot of discussion on that. We'll explain. The judgment, al-hisab, as we've mentioned, people will be judged for their actions, for their words, and for their thoughts, their secrets, their intentions, and their beliefs. Whatever you conceal in your hearts or reveal, you'll be judged. Except that, but the question is, do you get judged for your thoughts? A person is judged upon what he intends or intentionally or thinks of. So, for instance, a person has a sick thought that is a thought of a skeptic or kufr. As long as you're not happy with that thought and not accepting it, you dislike it, you will not be judged for it. So these thoughts are not by your own will, but your will is to and the ability that you have possess is to reject it or to accept it. So your judgment will be upon the thoughts that you intentionally think, the intentions that you intentionally make. For instance, having good opinion or bad opinion in a person, of a person, you'll be judged for it. For instance, a person, you have you're suspicious of him, and you think that he's a treacherous person, or he's somebody who doesn't like you, or he's somebody who hates you. Why do you think that? Why do you have that belief? What did he do to you? He just looks like he doesn't like me. It just looks from his appearance. All these are uh, you'll be judged for this thought, this belief. It'll be said to you, you on such and such a date thought about a person that he is trying to cheat you, or he's jealous of you. You'll be judged. You'll be asked, why did you think like that? Where is your husn al-dhan? It's okay if you want to be careful. Don't be somebody who's heedless. A believer is smart, intelligent, is awake. Be careful, and at the same time you don't uh, 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 accuse people. So just because I I can trust, I can be careful. At the same time, I don't have to put. I can trust the person. At the same time, I don't have to put all my money in front of that person. If I hide my money or I'm hiding my family, does not mean I don't trust a person. This is Sharia. A person will say, "Why do you don't put it in front of me if you don't trust me?" No, I'm not putting it in front of you so that there's no way for the devil to come. How will the devil come? The devil can come by can whisper into you. Uh, that the shaitan can come and put whispers in you, or to put a way like a burden in that person, seeing more blessings in you. But the thought can come from shaitan. It is true that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that as for the blessings of Allah, mention them. What that means is to mention it to yourself. It doesn't mean you go and announce what's in your bank account and what car you have, or what place you're traveling. This is not this is not uh, this is not mentioning your blessings. This is boasting. You are stirring jealousy, and making it easy for the devil to come, like bacteria. It's like if you leave trash, you're basically opening the door for the vermin and the bacteria and the filth and the diseases to come. So you're doing these precautions to prevent devil from entering. And if you want to speak of the blessings of Allah, speak about it to yourself and speak to your children. You tell your children, look, your father, I used to be poor. I'm nothing. It is Allah who has clothed me. It's Allah who has given me. My son, my daughter, if you see me having 3 cars, it's from the du'as of my parents. It's from the du'a of the gatherings that I attended. True, I gave, I put the effort which was required of me, because I am a slave. This is what is referred to as speaking of the blessings of Allah. But to understand this verse like how Qarun did, which is when he went out and said that all these riches that I have is from my own doings and from my own smartness or intelligence, and then what happened? Allah destroyed all of his wealth. Will all people be judged? And will the disbeliever be judged? He will be judged. An atheist could come and say, why is the disbeliever judged when he is a disbeliever in the first place? Believers being judged makes sense, but if a disbeliever, if a disbeliever is a disbeliever, why is he being judged when he will go to the hellfire anyways? Firstly, this is from the justice of Allah. Remember, it is from the justice of Allah, because there are 2 types of disbelievers: a good disbeliever and a one who is who's an evil type of disbeliever. There's a one who is safe or peaceful one, and then there's an evil one. He sees a believer and he says salams to the believer. He says Eid Mubarak to the believer. He gives you gifts. This is the disbeliever who is peaceful, same as the disbeliever who is a criminal, who's evil. This is where judgment comes. So the disbeliever who will be judged for his good actions, and he'll be rewarded for those. Like, for instance, there are disbelievers who are good to their parents. There are disbelievers who give charity. And there are disbelievers who look after the poor. There are disbelievers who build hospitals. He opened restaurants to give poor people free food. We're not looking at their intention, but he had some level of humanity that led him to do these things. So he will be rewarded based on his actions. What will be his reward? The punishment will be lessened, despite him being a disbeliever. And whoever is the opposite, who is a disbeliever, who is evil and oppressive, his punishment will be extreme, and their punishment will be increased multiple folds. And it has also been confirmed that that the disbelievers will have punishment. So the disbeliever, it is confirmed through hadith that the disbeliever will have his punishment lessened on the day of judgment in hellfire, despite the Quran saying that the punishment will not be lessened. That's true, but there are 2 types of punishments. One punishment is for the disbelief, and the other punishment is for the misdeeds, for the sins that they did. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the day of judgment, why you're being punished, or it's said in the Quran to the disbeliever, why are you being punished? He would say, we didn't pray, we didn't give charity, we spend time in waste, backbiting, cheating, lying, making fun of people, and we rejected the day of judgment. So if a good or a peaceful disbeliever who didn't sin, or sorry, who didn't do bad things or did good things, uh, for like piety to parents, giving charity, etc., his uh, his his punishment will be lessened. There's some companies, for instance, uh, where one person makes does something bad, they punish everyone. They make a policy for everyone else. If you punish everyone equally, that means you remove any opportunity for people to do good. There's no reason for anyone to do good when everyone is punished equally. Uh, is there anyone who is not judged on the day of judgment? Who are the ones who will not be judged? Obviously, the prophets. And the 70,000 who will enter paradise without any judgment. We ask Allah that He makes us from them. Somebody may say 70,000 compared to the total number of Muslims, that's nothing. And this same question, the Prophet, peace be upon him, said, and he said, Allah said to the Prophet ﷺ, that with every 1,000 of these there will be another 70,000. And then he asked for more, and Allah said that for every one of these 70,000, with every one of these 70,000 there'll be another 70,000. And he asked for more, and Allah said there'll be 3 groups of these. So we ask Allah that He makes us from this group. Judgment means that you be judged for your actions and for the rights of people over you. Be careful not to die and you have a right of somebody upon you. And the worst thing is to die and you are an oppressor. There's a lot to discuss here, but we'll push it to the next lesson. Next lesson. Somebody should remind Habib. In the next lesson, we'll talk about the judgment and the books, the book of deeds, and who are the ones who will have their judgment lessened, and who are the ones who will be judged, and the scales, and how the oppressor will be judged on the day of judgment. All this, inshallah, we'll cover in the next lesson. Whoever, and we request everyone who is present to remind. We ask Allah Azza wa Jal that He makes us enter paradise without any judgment. He makes us those who are true to the covenant. Oh Allah, teach us beneficial knowledge. Make us those with present heart. Oh Allah, make us live grateful. Make us die as believers, and we're resurrected in the company of the righteous early Muslims, the group of Sayyidina Nabi Sallallahu. Grant us all of our requests. Oh Allah, your gifting is amazing, and all of your actions are beautiful, and we have immense hopes in you. Oh, most merciful, those who's oh Allah, we've wronged ourselves immensely, and if you do not forgive us, we will be of those who are ruined. Forgive us when the time of our death comes, and prayers and salutations be upon the intercessor of humanity. Al-Fatiha. Allahumma salli ala Fatiha. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. And we also said to remind him in the next lesson what makes your scales weighty on the day of judgment, and what is the first thing that is put on your scales. This is a for you to long for the next lesson. Inshallah, the next lesson will be a completion for this chapter. Inshallah.
الله أخ محمد، وعليكم السلام ورحمة الله وبركاته. نوفل، حياك الله، مفيدة وجزاكم الله خيرا. السيد عادل الهاشمي، وعليكم السلام ورحمة الله وبركاته، جزاكم الله خير. ما هي علامات حصول البركة في الرزق؟ كما ذكرنا.
What are the signs of having blessings in your wealth, in your rizq? Signs of these blessings is you giving a lot in charity. Also, not spending it in anything that's sinful. It doesn't mean one is innocent, like free of sin, but it is known that haram, unlawful wealth leads a person to unlawful things, and doubtful wealth leads a person to doubtful actions. So everyone can measure his state based on these skills. But also, you don't understand this from this that if a person sins, it means his wealth is haram. No, we sin because we're not free. We're not sin free. We're not like angels. Our nafs takes over the best of us, and then we can sin. Somebody's asking, in this day and age, is it an age where Sayyidina Mahdi can come? This is a question we've asked our teachers, and this is a question that is asked quite often. Don't waste your time asking about this. One of Habib's teachers said, when he was asked the same question, he was asked about Sayyidina Mahdi, when he'll come. So he said, if a person is not prepared in terms of his faith, then he won't come out, because Imam Mahdi needs an army with him who are ready in terms of their faith. So when that so you are expected to obey Allah and the Prophet in any age, whether it is in the age of Imam Mahdi or not. If Imam Mahdi comes, then so you have to obey, or if he doesn't come, you have to obey. So there's no doubt that there is a lot of tribulations in this day and age. Even the disbelievers can see that. But we ask Allah that He protects us from these tribulations, outward and inward. The questioner is asking, is it true that from the filth of or the evil of the Iblis, he asks, or he tells, or whispers into a murid, saying that there are others stronger than your sheikh. So the shaitan can come to a murid and come to you and say that your sheikh is actually not that strong, and there are other sheikhs that you should benefit from. The thing is, the issue, it all depends on the truthfulness of the murid. Whenever the murid is sincere, he'll get the sheikh. A person can be sitting with a huge sheikh for years, but he's not true. He won't feel connection. The path is not for those who outwardly are first to be in the gathering, but it's about for those who are true in their connection. There are so many people who are true in their connection to the mashayikh, but because of their lively because of the conditions of their life, the responsibilities that they have, they could not attend those gatherings, and but and so they have that inward connection. And if the person is true in his connection, he will find the sheikhs at his doorstep. And how many ill people went to the big doctors, and they diagnosed him, and they gave him medicines, but he didn't benefit from those doctors. And then they go to some simple doctor who's like a dervish type, and his fees is like 50 dirhams. He goes to that doctor, and he gives him a medicine, and he gets cured. Doesn't that happen? It happens. It's something logical. Sometimes it's based on the temperament, or the based on the opinion of the sick person or the ill person, patient, that if he has a bad opinion, or doesn't 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 feel that the big doctors can cure him, and he has a good opinion of the dervish that he goes to. Because the reality is, in the end of the day, healing is not from the doctors, and healing is not from the medicine. Healing is in the hands of Allah alone. And we know that like 99% of illness is in the person itself. You know that if good words give people so much hope, just a doctor giving good encouragement to uh, gives the encouragement to the patient to fight his illness. This obviously doesn't mean you go and give the diabetic patient sugar. The most important thing is the sheikh has to be a true sheikh, not a fake sheikh. They're fake sheikhs. The dars has concluded, and these are just questions. People can leave if they want. So the fake sheikh is a sheikh who doesn't have sanad. He thinks he understands, so he made a Instagram channel, and he says, I'm a sheikh, and he puts on his turban, and he has his prayer beads, and he has some nice nice impressive pictures that show that he's like a very holy person. You find such people, but he's just he's just an imposter. He's just an image, and people are impressed by him. He has his sound. He's got a very holy sound, and he's got like background music playing that stirs the emotions. We're not putting suspicion on anyone. We're just saying, choose your sheikh like how you choose a doctor. See, there's a sheikh who has a unbroken chain, which is a known chain, who's been permitted by his teachers to teach. Who are your teachers? Which village are you from? Which city are you from? Who were your teachers? If he mentions all of them, and he has sanad, then you accept the sheikh. The questioner says, how do we deal with disbelievers at workplace. At workplace, you have disbelievers. If a person has to deal with non-Muslims because of his workplace, the to mix with them, which is dislike or not right, is of two types. He's a work colleague. To leave that professional circle and get involved in his personal life, that is not what is permissible. This obviously does not mean you are stern and rigid and rough and oppressive towards him. Of course not. So dealing with them outside of work. The second type of relation that is not good is like, or impermissible, is that you have like a friendship, in the sense like you go out and have a coffee with that person, enjoy, go travel with that person, you know, to be compelled to deal with the non-Muslim is when you have a workplace where you have them as your manager or your colleague, etc. So outside of work, you don't have that relation. Inshallah, we're connected forever.
يعني بالعكس انتم لا تقطعونا. You please be connected with us ان شاء الله تعالى. طيب المدرس اذا ما في طلبه يشرح لمين يعني؟ لازم يكون في، فكلنا مستفيدين، كلنا محتاجين لبعضنا البعض ان شاء الله تعالى.
If a teacher doesn't have students, who will they explain to? So everyone is in need of everyone.
الله أتخيل بأن الله سبحانه وتعالى عظيم وحيثياته عظيمة بعظمته، ولربما تشمل الإنسانية والعوالم كلها، بما أن الأرض جميعا قبضته. لعلك تقصد فهل هذا صحيح إن شاء الله أم نختلف القبضة عن الحيثية؟ لعلك تقصد أو لعلك تقصدين.
The questioner is saying, whenever I think about Allah's power, I see Him as great. Maybe from the question, what Habib's understood is that knowing Allah's greatness and mercy, you think to yourself, how can Allah punish a disbeliever for eternity? It doesn't contradict. A person robs another person. He takes over his house, destroys his family. And then this person, this oppressor, this person ruined another person's life. Like, for instance, he ruined his marriage, or he ruined his work. What do you call this? You call this person an oppressor, a dhalim. Now, this person who had his life ruined, all of his life was ruined, and he's broken all of his life. He lost his family. if we just look at this situation, if on the Day of Judgment we think both of these people, we put both of these people in paradise, no, it's a wrong thinking. From the mercy of Allah, the zalim will be punished on the Day of Judgment. The oppressor will be punished on the Day of Judgment. The oppressed person is always in such pain and suffering until he sees his oppressor being punished. So Allah's punishment for the oppressors, for the profligates, for the profane people is actually a mercy for the people they oppressed and they misguided, etc. If Allah put that oppressor, this murderer, this person who destroyed families and lives, and Allah says to this person, this oppressor, you are my slave and enter paradise, and Allah will not do that. Allah will be oppressive towards the person who that man oppressed. A person obeyed Allah all his life and another person disobeyed. Are they two the same? We know that Allah's punishment is related to the actions of a person. We sent you prophets with miracles. We gave you intellect, and still you followed your desires. So this punishment is based on your actions and beliefs, and Allah knows best.